As far as the vehicle and building department, that has no financial impact on the rest of the city. It's an enterprise fund or it's its own special revenue fund, and that money doesn't go anywhere go anywhere else in the city or general fund. So we can move vehicles around and we can do whatever you want and send all these back, trade them in and buy vehicles, but we're gonna have to spend, if you take two at fire, let's say you take the the other four vehicles you listed that are leased, where are we gonna get the money to buy the rest of those?
You're going to have to finance something. I realize that.
Which is no different than the lease option.
However, at the end of 4 years, there's no buyout amount. You own the vehicle, and you keep it for 8 years, and you keep making the payments so that you can cash flow it later. In terms of our financial event horizon here, planning ahead, we're thinking 20 minutes into the future because that's just always been our
No,
business
ma'am, I'm
model.
not thinking 20 minutes in the future.
Well, let's
I'm
think
looking
8
at
to
the
10
long
years.
game. You're looking at buying a 1-year-old vehicle that is not an apples-to-apples comparison and expecting me to keep a vehicle for 8 years after the payoff date of that we are going to go into the hole trying to keep on the road and running, that it becomes financial burdens on us. We save money on maintenance on the backside of this.
So
You
are
know,
we going
all the
to,
cop
this is
cars-
just not going to be a conversation we're going to have.
No, we can have the
I
conversation.
mean,
I just don't think it's
the
feasible.
decision was made to lease vehicles. The commission didn't make that decision. I realized,
commission
did we?
did.
Yes, it
The
did.
commission did. The commission made that decision in 2018, and it was signed off
Okay,
by
that
the-
was pre-me,
It was signed
so,
off by the commission and the city manager and the city
Okay.
attorney, and that's where the master lease agreement comes into play.
and the master lease agreement states, because I got a copy of it, thank you, I appreciate that if funds are not appropriated, we can send the vehicles back.
Yeah, we can send them back at any time.
So we have the ability to send the lease vehicles back. We could finance buying relatively new trucks, 1-year-old, so that somebody else takes that depreciation hit.
Okay, and then we gotta put equipment in them. So let's apples to apples. Now I gotta put lights in the public works trucks. I gotta put the other equipment in those vehicles as well. So we gotta find the funding for that as well. If you're looking at sending emergency vehicles back, we gotta do the lighting packages on those as well. So there is other considerations here.
I agree, I absolutely understand that. I know what you're saying, but, I mean, the impression that folks have around here, and I get this, is that we should be living on a Franks and Beans budget up here, and we're handing the caviar receipt to the people.
Ma'am, we haven't lived on a caviar deal around here as long as I've been here in 27 years. So to make that accusation is not even close to the reality of what we deal with every day. I've worked this place a long time. I have dealt with furlough days. I have dealt with pay reductions. I have taken jobs in this city that nobody else wanted at reductions of pay. And to sit here and say we don't
No,
sacrifice it,
this
that we
is
make
not
a
me
difference.
picking at you.
This is not a vehicle-driven discussion. This is a perception of we lease vehicles. It is no different than financing them. And we can agree to disagree on all that all day long on that one. But the reality behind it is we have to have vehicles that are reliable to do our job.
Absolutely.
And
We agree.
the way we were doing it was not appropriate. We did not have enough money to go out and buy vehicles, so we went out and found another way to do this. And now you're sitting here telling me we were wrong for the decisions we made based off of we were able to take things and make chicken salad out of you-know-what. We were able to make this work in the confines of the budgets that were given to us and provide reliable vehicles to people. We didn't pick the trim packages. I can care less what the trim package was. They were ordered off a state contract as those vehicles. They're not costing us any more than what they would have off a state contract as base model vehicles. Because certain people don't like it, there's nothing I can do about it. I didn't like it either when they came in, and I'm not overly happy about it when they came in, but I wouldn't have bought those vehicles long term. It was what we had to deal with in 2020. So it's what we've had to deal with.
Well, I guess, Madam Mayor, I will move along from vehicles.
Yes, please.
There's more to be said, but I don't really know that there's any point at this point. I'm looking at the IT contract that we've got, and our hourly rate went up 28%. That's a pretty big jump, and I think that if we brought some of that back in-house, I've got another $84,000 we might be able to save. I do think it's a good idea to have an outside IT firm. I'm not proposing that we not use outside IT. I think a combination of inside and outside is always good just for checks and balances. But their rate, their hourly rate, when it comes to the market, is not obscene. It's not. But it was a big jump.
I don't understand where you're getting that from, because we're being charged $100 for the first 25 hours.
We're not, though.
And then, so where do you get that from?
I looked at their invoices. They're charging us $125 for everything.
Well, then after a certain number of hours, then it goes to $125. So you have $100 for the first 25 hours, and after the first 25 hours, it's $125.
Okay. I
So-
didn't print up all the invoices, but I looked at them,
So that's-
and there's...
that's why you're seeing
But
that.
still, even $125, that's not a bad rate. I'm not complaining about that at all. But now it's $175. Still not a bad rate. They're charging us a lump sum fee based on 80 hours a month. I talked to Eric May about it. That's how I got the number. $14,000 a month lump sum for professional services. 80 hours at $175 an hour. And I really think that we could tighten up some of that. There's some of the very high-end stuff, obviously, they'd have to do.
So we actually, it's over 80 hours, after it becomes free. So we spend more hours than that a month, and he does what is needed. So I don't understand where you're saying $175 an hour over 80 hours, because his contract does more than that based on what's going on
That's just a
outside of
professional
special
services.
projects. So, well, it is an incorrect statement to say it went up to $175 an hour, because we spend more than 80 hours a month, and he provides us service over that.
I'm coming up with those numbers just based on my conversation with him.
I've had conversations and looked at his billing, and I've looked at the contract and everything. And we are still getting 2014 prices, and he has said that he will not raise them for 2 or 3 years until we're in a financial position to afford it. In that flat fee, we went to that for a cost-saving measure so that we didn't go over month to month, because we've had so much activity with all the different things that are going on currently.
Okay.
Isn't some of that 14,000 internet, phones?
Yeah, there's
Pass-through for
it
the
involves
database?
a lot of things.
There's other stuff there, though. Wireless communications, email. There's a lot of other line items
There's
here.
subscriptions every year. He has some equipment on his site that he handles for us. There's a cybersecurity. I mean, the list goes on and on. So
Okay, so you're saying that we couldn't take, some of the help desk tickets internally. We don't have that.
well, we already do, and we have. I mean, Kevin's been doing a significant amount of it. To some extent, since we've gone to the flat fee, yes, we do still take some, but they can do it because we're going to flat fee. They'll do what we need. We're getting more service for less going out to the flat fee.
At what point do you think we're going to reach that point where it really makes more sense to hire somebody full-time to do that internally?
Actually, I've been through this in other cities because, I worked for some fast-growing cities. What typically happens is you go to a hybrid model where you'll have 1 or 2 people come on with IT. You can't just go from, getting rid of who you contract with, because they have, it's you would have to invest in capital equipment, some of which is housed there. You need, you got to think that it's 24/7 IT, so you would have to have someone available 24/7. You need some redundancy as well. You don't want just one person doing your IT. You always need a backup if something happens to that person. And you have the different skill levels. So you'll have one person that's good at software, another person that's good at hardware, another person that does the networking, another person that does the cybersecurity. That's why it's beneficial for small cities to be contracting out. And then when you go to the hybrid, you bring someone on who helps manage that and take, some more responsibilities off, so we are not being charged as much. But typically the initial investment in getting a department going increases before it decreases or stabilizes. And I don't think we're at that tipping point just yet.
So then when we hired, well, it was pre-you and somebody to do part-time IT. What was the business model vision at that point in terms of what they'd be able to handle?
I was not here. If you're talking about the PIO/IT position, I was not here when that decision was made. All I can speak for is, since I've been here and what that position does. So that position handles a lot of calls as they come in before it goes to Emerald Data, so that we can get things done quicker, more expeditiously, and not be charged. The position will scour the help desk tickets and handle what it can handle before going to Emerald Data. The position does ordering for us and managing of the equipment that we have. Kevin, do you want to talk about the other things that you do for IT? You had the big list. What? Yeah, all the meetings. I mean, setting up the civic center when we have things there. He goes to plan board. I mean, not counting all the PIO duties, but there's a significant amount of IT that I don't think there's anyone else in the city that can handle doing that right now with all their other responsibilities.
And that's good information to have. I mean, when you and I spoke a few weeks ago, you told me that he didn't have time to do IT. It was all PIO. So that's important to know.
Yeah, the majority of Kevin's position is PIO. Kevin handles, the trash. When we switch the trash, when we did the AMI, he's going to start handling that. He handles, information when we have hot topics, such as the bridalwood and other things that have been hot topics, as well as, when we have hurricanes. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, and that doesn't include the evening and weekend calls that he handles as well. So, and we have had a lot more activism since we have increased the role of the PIO responsibilities. There's a lot more information getting out there to the public, which I think that they probably are glad to receive. And so we've had more people involved.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions up here?
Not at this time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Audience? Nobody?
That was good timing.
I have a question on the 2018 vehicles. I do remember that was that we passed that. And then we were discussing it a year or so ago and discussing problems with the police vehicles being traded out, getting new vehicles. And I was told that the next year, after 2018, there was not enough money to keep funding that lease program, so it was dropped. That's why the vehicles are not being, because when it was presented to us, it was great. But then I was told, when I was asking, where are these cars, I was told it was dropped. So just to clarify that.
Anyone else? Okay, then I'll close this section. All right, commissioners. I didn't see you before I closed it.
I just want you to know that everything is increasing. Our food, our budget has gone up $300 since last year. Our housing insurance is going up because all the companies are pulling out of Florida. I don't know that we have to start choosing. Do we get certain medications? Do we pay for homeowners insurance? Food costs, gas. we're not going anywhere. We just can't afford $4 a gallon. It's twice as much to fill my tank as it used to be. Costs are going up, and it's been going up for a while. It's nothing new as of this time, and you have continued to spend money. You've spent our money. You haven't asked if we're interested in buying the canoe outpace or that canoe place. You haven't asked us if maybe we could use a used vehicle, a one-year-old vehicle for the fire department. For a couple of years, what's it gonna hurt? We all gotta suck it up. We're all sucking it up. And I'm not just saying we gotta do it for the rest of our lives, but we can do it for the next couple of years. We don't need a big, huge black SUV running around town, costing us all kinds of money. And he doesn't really need it. He can do without it for 2 years. He may like it, and he can make all kinds of reasons why they need these vehicles. But that doesn't mean that they can't suck it up for a couple of years. Because of the way things are going, I'm sucking it up, and so is just about everybody back here. But you keep spending our money. You don't talk to us. You just spend it. We elected you and we trusted you. And it's very upsetting to see what you're doing with us.
That happened else, you sitting in there, see you sitting there? All that time and carrying on? Very disrespectful.
I would just like to clarify that the canoe outpost was bought with Wild Spaces Public Places money, and that's completely separate from the general fund. So the proposed increase in the millage is completely separate. It was not bought from the general fund.
You're saying that's money that couldn't have been used elsewhere, though? Yeah. Right, it was for that, like, it couldn't be used elsewhere. It didn't impact you personally. I just want to thank you all for your investment in the community. My name is Zachary Walter. Some of you know who I am, some of you don't. I think that there are a lot of people with different opinions, and I think there's a vocal minority of people who are really upset. But I don't think it's fair to be short-sighted. And, you know, the lady who just spoke talked about people sucking it up, and then, you know, she talked about how the city doesn't ask for people's opinions, but we live in the state of Florida, and Sunshine Law dictates that meetings are held in the open, right? So the city, ever since I've been old enough to be involved, I was on the Mayor's Youth Council in high school, the city has always invited public input. And so I would just like to speak to that for whoever's watching, whoever might watch this. I may or may not be in the minority, you know. Is it ideal to pay a higher millage rate temporarily? No. Does anybody want to pay more for something? No. But I also, as a citizen of the city, and somebody who has lived here for most of my life and plans to raise my kids here, I'm also fine with that temporary sacrifice. If it means doing, for the third time, I think Commissioner or Vice Mayor Ambrose said, only 2 times have we actually had to raise that rate. Our track record proves that we're willing to do what's best for the community. Not everyone agrees with that, and I'm fine with that, but I feel I would be remiss as a citizen of the community to not express my support for it temporarily. Is it ideal? No. Does it impact my budget personally? Yes. We just bought a new house, and a lot of people have lived in the city for a long time or in the county for a long time, and they're paying a tax rate that was very different than what I'm going to pay, but that's okay. It's worth it to me to live here, and it's also worth it to me to basically do my part to keep people from losing their jobs, right? Or cutting city services. We live in a really good city. There's a reason people live here now, and so I would just encourage the commission to think about that when approving the millage rate. You know, we can nickel and dime, and we could go line item by line item. There's nothing necessarily wrong with doing that. But if we have a proven track record of increasing the rate and then decreasing it if we can, and we know that there's increased revenue coming because of the water meters, if we know there's increased revenue because of the growth, I think that's worth considering, especially because we're not a master plan community. We didn't have a set number of lots. We can't just close the door on people coming here. And so I would just encourage you to think about the long-term growth of the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
I'm just horrified that this little town of High Springs has a $17 million plus budget. It just astounds me. A couple things. We have a $17 million plus budget. Our roads are like a third world country. Our water, we can't drink our water. I mean, we have to go buy water. We've had our water tested and it's got so many chemicals in it that we can't drink it. It's upsetting, and I think I would like to know where I could find, and perhaps you can tell me, or perhaps we can put it on the screen, like the top 10 salaries in High Springs. Who's earning all this money? I'd like to know. You know, I mean, you guys are probably earning your money, but there's some people there that I've heard are earning $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Excuse me? No, I hope not. Okay, well, I hope I'm wrong
They're
then.
not here.
I'm glad I'm wrong.
They're not
Not
here.
even close.
Okay,
Not even-
but well, what's the
No.
top, salary in High Springs? You don't have to tell me who.
109.
109, okay. But anyway, fix our roads and please fix our water.
I do think it's worth saying that we doubled the road projects this year alone. And I think every member of the commission has wanted that as well. And then the water, I think Thomas has done an absolutely fantastic job. We used to have to boil a hell of a lot more than what we are now, and it was just the water main that the contractor blew up on us that.
We got one today, right now. We're working on right now.
Uh-oh.
Right across the kangaroo, right next to it.
So, I mean, unfortunately, everybody wants to put fiber optic in here, and apparently they don't know how to drill. Jesus Christ. If I was that bad at my regular job, I think I'd be fired by now.
My name's Janet Evans. I want to address what was said regarding people wanting to have input in the decisions that have been made, not just with the spending of money, but decisions about what's going to go where and who's going to do what. I have been at a number of the meetings, and I have personally witnessed at least 3 occasions where our city attorney, Mr. Walker, has specifically said in the open that the people's opinions in the audience could not be listened to, could not be taken into account because they were opinions and you could only focus on what were the facts. And other people in the group, in the audience said, well, what are we here for? Why do we even bother to come if when we get up and we speak about something that nobody even listens to us? And it's at least 3 times. And I can go back and I can find them if I need to. But that's the truth of the matter. You don't get input from people. You don't put information out there. And then when people do come, you don't listen to them.
Okay, anyone else?
All right, so my name is Andrew Miller. For the record, good evening, Commission Board. As a voice for High Springs citizens, I would like to say raising taxes in the current economic status by 26% is quite outrageous. Today, we are expecting a 13% reduction in everyone's disposable income. We also learned that everyone will be getting new water meters because the old water meters were not reading correctly meaning that everyone's water bills will increase. At a previous board meeting, I offered to suggest to High Springs City Hall to add more services such as obtaining a marriage license, paying property taxes, the ability to get a driver's license. It was said we don't have enough staff, but if you look at Fort White, they are working on half the amount of staff than we have. Also, in my understanding, last week it was said that we are paying the same rate for our leased vehicles. Okay, so we got one type, but the type that we actually ordered did not come, so we got a different type. So the average cost to fill a Suburban is $126, while the average cost to fill the Ford Explorer, which they said that we were going to get, is $77. So you do the math. Yes, tough decisions must be made, but it should be made by everybody and not just citizens. Thank you.
I do want to clarify that the 26% is an increase over the rollback rate, which is different than our current rate, which is 5.99. The increase of our current rate is 16%. I just wanted to clarify and give the accurate numbers.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm Tom.
Good
Tillett.
evening.
I'm a resident of High Springs. Yeah, we have inflation and everything's going up. And so is because of that, everything our city does goes up. And so we have to help them out. You can't just say do less. I don't want them to do less. I don't want to see our recreation platform go to hell and be gone and have no volleyball team or no baseball or no football. That's why half the population that's moved into here comes here, because we have some of the best there is, better than any of the other small towns in the area. And on, all the things that we get out of this city, I want to keep getting them. I don't want to lose them. I don't want to see people get fired, because we have the best people in our city are going to get fired, some of them, and I can't stand to think of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jones. I know most of you have been involved in this for quite some time. I sat here and I listened to this, and I happened to think about that song, Rich Man, Poor Man, that's been playing on it. And that's basically what we hear. You got a lot of retired people, including myself. I balance a budget. I make sure my bills are paid. What you're doing, some of you, is going to make it difficult for some of us. And when I hear a commissioner say, I can take the 200,000 and get it down to 40,000, and you just seem to be ignoring that. I think her options need to be looked at. You lead with an emotional issue, police, fire, everybody wants that. We want to keep the great employees. But at the same time, you got to worry about the people that are struggling. That's your bottom line. You're worrying about more the top than the bottom. I've got to pay my bills. You are affecting that. I don't have that option of saying, oh, but I need to do this, I need to do that. I need to pay my bills. You got to pay yours, but you got to tighten up. You're not tightening up. It's obvious. When you won't even look at $160,000 savings, that's bad. You can't just keep going to the piggy bank. It's broken. Now, I listened to the campaign. I've been involved in all this stuff. I believed in some of you. I don't now, but I believed in you. And I'm sure losing faith. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say that that's assuming there would be 160,000 in savings. I don't believe that there would be 160,000 savings just from my management of the city. I have, ma'am. Okay.
All right, is there anyone else? Okay, then I'm going to close the public area at this time. All right, commissioners?
Mayor,
Yes.
Bruce, I appreciate that you had the equipment in your vehicle on the 4th of July when a citizen in your neighborhood was injured by a fireworks, because it probably made the difference in him keeping an eye and potentially living or not. And that same thing applies for you being the first person on the scene when Air Liquide had their accident. So if you didn't use the equipment in your vehicle but once or twice a year and it made that kind of a difference, I think that's all worth the money.
I think we all hear the conversation about the vehicles. We're in them now, unfortunately. I do think it's a bad look. One of the first questions I asked Bruce, which he was gracious to answer that day, was the first time I got in the car with him when I got elected and went around and met everybody, I was like, it's a pretty damn nice car. How'd we get here? And he showed me every email. And I recommend we put something like that on the website to be completely open and honest about it. That way you see what the real options are. You get to read the contracts. You get to look through them. I hear it from the citizens. It's a bad look, yeah. And I say going forward, we move away from it. This is something that, was voted in without us two. But, that was what they saw as the best opportunity at that time and the best option for the city. If we go back and get rid of them now, okay, so we send them away. All right. So now we got to buy all new cars or used cars, even if we buy them used. What are we spending? What's our cost a month on vehicles right now? Because we're going to have to lease them. I think everybody's seen the budget, right? Mm-hmm. Lord knows that there ain't no money in there to buy a brand new car, not even one. And so if we send them back now, and then we get them all in here, and then we got to outfit them. And then we outfit them. Okay. We're still spending the same amount of money, unfortunately, at this point, from what I've been able to see. Or if we're talking about a savings, it might only be $500 to $1,000. That's not fixing our issues. I'm absolutely willing to hear absolutely every line item Commissioner White thinks we can save money on, because that's what I want to do too. Anybody, it would be crazy. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. Any of us would be crazy to think we want to waste any type of money. None of us got elected to be put up here to do that to any citizen. But we have one of the best fire departments in the state of Florida. And I'll tell you something, when I'm out there working calls and somebody hears I'm from High Springs, you know how jealous the city of Gainesville is about the new trucks that we have, the heavy rescues that they don't even have? We treat our fire rescue and our police department better than most cities. I think Chief Shepard would say that. I think any of our firefighters would say that. Any of our police officers would say that. And with the limited staff that we do have, there are other towns calling us for help. When a hurricane hits, they call us, they want us, because our equipment is better and doesn't break. And our people are trained and know what to do with it. We already do more with less. We absolutely do. And we have shown a history of rolling back and saving money for the citizens. We're not talking about that. We can't just chastise people when we have to go up. Listen, I'm not happy that we're going up at all. But I'm responsible to the people that elected me in and all the other people who didn't elect me in order for them to have the exact same services. If we got to go up a little bit so that we can tighten back next year, then that's what we got to do. And I hate it, and we got to come together for this. This town comes together. This town doesn't point fingers and yell at people. It's never been that. We are so much better than that. And we're arguing about vehicles, and I get it. Hey, when it comes before the commission again, there's a strong chance that we absolutely do not vote yes to lease vehicles. But there's a lot of mistakes that all of us have made in our lives that we all wish we could go back and change. Pointing out other people's flaws and other mistakes and whatnot, I want to hear it. But let's be understanding as well. And we do have to come together on this, and we've got to get this thing done, and we've got to make the right decision. Believe me, this is a very stressful decision for every commissioner up here. None of us want to make the wrong decision on this, and I think we all understand that we got to have a 10, 15, 20-year plan going forward about how we get out of this mess and how we do roll it back. And you're right. A lot of people have been getting a free water off of bad equipment. That's going to change. I hope people aren't upset when they actually have to pay for the water that they've been using. We are so much better than arguing over stuff like this. I think we can have a much more civil conversation than what we're having.
All right. Where are we, commissioners? I am.
I make a motion, we approve Resolution 2023-0, adopting the final millage rate.
I second it. I'm not willing to fire people.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that Resolution 2023-0 be approved. Roll call, please.
Mayor James.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ambrose.
Yes.
Commissioner Grunder.
Yes.
Commissioner Whites.
No.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
All right, resolution approved 4-0. Next item is item number 2.
Madam Mayor.
4-1, I'm sorry, my mistake. 4-1.
Madam Mayor, this is ordinance 2023-11, an ordinance adopting the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget of the City of High Springs, Florida, providing for an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2023-11 upon its second reading by title only.
Thank you. All right, commissioners. Comments, concerns, questions?
Madam Mayor, I have a question. I looked over this packet, and of course, staff has been massaging it for many, many months, so there's some things that are a little different in some versions than others, but we've got here on today's packet, $100,000 going from ARPA to the fire fund. Is that's, I don't think we had talked about that. Is that accurate?
Bring forward ARPA and infrastructure in October to have additional conversations about that. That was one of the many pieces that we needed to use to balance fire's budget.
So it's kind of just there as a placeholder for now?
It balances the budget so we can approve the budget. We have to have a balanced budget to approve it.
But it doesn't commit us to...
You can change the budget with a budget amendment anytime you want. You could change it on October 2nd if you wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're, like you said, we're planning, I mean, the city commissioner's been planning to bring forward ARPA and the infrastructure and impact fees to have those conversations more in depth.
Okay. And the $24,000 that we had here for the farmer's market says it's been moved to CRA, and I didn't see that line item in the CRA budget?
So we actually budgeted around $10,000. It was 10 or 12 in CRA. And we took the money out of general fund for farmer's market to save money. And we were going to have a meeting, it was either the first or second meeting of this next month, to discuss the findings from the study for the farmer's market. That was conducted at all the workshops over the summer to have y'all provide your input of the direction you want to go.
So that we can approve the budget here, the CRA budget, but there's no line item for the farmer's market
Well,
here now.
there's I can't remember what it's called. There's contract services. Yeah.
Contract services, okay, so that's not really contract services. I mean, is that services that we're going to be under contract, or is that the farmer's market?
I think it really depends on what you determine in your CRA budget.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the CRA, that's the farmer's market placeholder
We
right
can
there.
change it, the line item to farmer's market, but we left it more general based on the conversation that y'all have at the
Okay.
meeting in the next month.
And the contract services for CRA for High Springs PD, the $10,000 there, that covers police for the parade, for the tree lighting.
That's the Christmas, kind of the extra work that they do more patrolling during the Christmas season, but it doesn't cover all the community policing. Some of the other community policing throughout the year comes from their, the general fund is put in with everything in the police department budget. So that's really just Christmas.
So that 10 grand there, is that enough to cover the parade and the tree lighting?
Historically, that's covered November.
Christmas is
and
not covered on that.
November holidays, so there was extra holiday patrol during Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right. And Christmas, that's not covered. Christmas is out of our regular budget. It's a lot of resources, so.
No, I understand that.
That's not covered.
It's the extra patrol they do extra patrol during the holidays because more
For all the
people are
porch
downtown.
pirates that steal
Yeah,
people's
like for the
Christmas presents.
businesses and stuff like that.
So then where is CRA going to be helping with those events to pay for, because normally the chamber pays for some,
they're
CRA
not-
pays for others.
They're not helping any more up and above what they've done in the past, so,
So it's going to be the same as the past, though?
yes.
Okay.
Now the fire, we've had discussions internally that we have provided fire free of charge, and so staff will be coming to y'all. Because even though the millage has been increased to 6.99, we still need to look at things to operate in a different way, so we're not having to do this next year. So, one of the discussions was if we're gonna be providing fire, free of charge at some of these events or not. So there's gonna be further discussions on some of.
There's quite a few of those, aren't there?
Several, yeah. Something we gotta look at, like community CPR, we don't charge for, and stuff along those lines, like.
You mean a class?
Yeah.
CPR class? Wow.
Some of the impacts that we've looked at, so, like the CPR we just did for the soccer coaches, that won't be a free of charge program next go around, we'll have to charge for that.
Is that something that we can wrap into the cost of registration fees for people
I've
participating?
got to get with Elliot Harris on that. I haven't had a chance to sit down and figure out how we're going to move forward in that program yet, but that's a future discussion we're going to have. But like,
Yeah.
where we'd offer it to other civic services as well at no charge, that's all going to change. So we got some fee schedules coming forth and some different things. So like we would provide extra staff and have a booth at Pioneer Days. That's over and done with. We'll
Yeah.
have to figure out how we're going to staff that with the chamber and what the charges are going to be for that. Same
Yeah.
thing with the Christmas parade for extra personnel coming in, not only to have the trucks in the parade, but to have adequate staffing to handle the amount of people that are in town. So it may not look like what it's looked like in the past.
But it's not just the chamber. I mean, they provide
BMX,
services to
other
BMX
things,
and
yeah.
stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. I just didn't know how many more there were, because I know that Kevin was there for Pioneer Days the whole weekend, and at least 2 people, I think. That's
So,
pretty
and
expensive.
then you have your regular staff on, and then like Christmas parade, you have several. So you have several on the trucks because we let the kids ride on top. We do away with that program and take that away, and that eliminates some staff. So then we just have the trucks in the parade. There's some different thought processes moving around right now.
Okay. And then, Ashley, you and I had talked about this placeholder for $100,000 for the priests as a contingency, and the hope would be that that may be freed up funds within CRA.
I mean,
anyway.
so, exactly, like 100% correct. So that's kind of, money that we can pay some things right now, like some architectural fees, the appraisal, that type of thing. And then the hope is that we raise money, which we all are pretty sure we can do because our match is $250. So we'll reimburse it, the $100,000 of money we raise, and then the grant will reimburse some of the other costs. So that will be whole in the end.
Okay. And then for the water budget here, proposed rate increase revenue, we've got $340,000 here, and we need that to balance a budget. But we haven't talked about water rates yet, but we know we're going to have to raise them.
Yeah, I think that the deal is we have to raise them to a certain amount. The conversation is what are the water rates going to look like as far as, obviously, that once people start using more, the price typically goes up.
Right.
So it's going to be how it looks across the spectrum of users, but we still have to have that amount. Now, currently, AMI is projected to be online around 3 months sooner than what we projected in the budget. So the percentage that we are expected to receive from AMI is greater than what is anticipated as far as the rates, as we discussed.
So then what kind of time frame are we held to in terms of once AMI comes online, we're freeing up staff? Eventually, it's going to take some time, but we're freeing up people's water bills are going to be more accurate. Do we have to address a water and sewer rate increase prior to that revenue coming in to give us a valid estimate of what it's going to be?
I think that the estimates, I've done AMI in other cities, and I've watched it happen. The estimates are pretty spot on typically. So we've been conservative in our estimates. It could end up a little more that we get from AMI. But again, we've taken a lot of fund balance from water and sewer because we anticipated AMI being on last year.
Right.
So we have to make up for some of that.
We also have the utility rate ordinance that we have to address too, because there's a CPI adjustment in there that we must do every year.
Well, that's required.
So that's required, so that one still has to happen. We haven't done that adjustment.
That's a pretty small percentage though, isn't it?
What was CPI this year?
5.8, I think, 5.7.
That's still something.
So,
you know?
That's gotta happen, so that'll probably be, what, next meeting, I think, in October?
It's in November. The city manager just gave me the dates today to put on the bills, and it's in November, the 2 meetings in November.
To discuss water and sewer
16th
rates?
And the 28th, yes. And the thing we need to remember is if we're not starting this in October, we've lost 2/12 of the year, 1/6 of the year to recoup revenue. So we're gonna have to kind of revisit in a different way because we have a shorter period of time. And, you know, we talked about fund balances a couple meetings ago, so it's really important that we don't, you know, kick the can. Commissioner Williams has talked about that too.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Any
ma'am.
other questions here, commissioners? No? Okay, audience? Audience questions? Comments? Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I could just make one comment, I want to make sure that it's crystal clear that never have I ever even entertained the idea that we could do without any of the employees we have. And any budget tightening would never, from my perspective, include losing anybody. And, you know, the person who's been doing the stellar job as a PIO, I can tell you that the only comments I've heard about him from other people that they work with him is that he will drop anything to do anything. So I'm very cognizant that we are incredibly blessed with amazing employees. But I think there are times when we need to make some difficult decisions too. And I don't want anybody to think that that means that I don't value their contribution, because we are a very special town. And none of my comments have anything to do with anybody's performance as an employee. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. All right, I can entertain a motion at this time.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2023-11.
Second.
Okay, been properly moved in second that ordinance 2023-11 be approved. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Ambrose,
Yes.
Commissioner Grunder,
Yes.
Commissioner Whites,
No?
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mayor James.
Yes. All right, ordinance 2023-11 carries 4-1. Got it right this time. All right, we have no unfinished business. So at this time, I will ask for citizens requesting comments for issues that are not on the agenda. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes, please. Anyone want to speak?
David Lynch. I gave each person 3 pieces of paper, Exhibit A, B, and C. Let's read Exhibit A together. Look where it says Newberry rezones 128 acres from ag to planned development. The Newberry City Commission at its August 14th meeting approved several land-related items. One of the approved items was a request for a large-scale future land use map amendment to change 128 plus or minus acres known as Newberry Plaza from agriculture has shifted to the upper left-hand corner to planned development. The project will bring 350 single-family dwelling units and proposes 150,000 square feet of commercial use. Going on down, the commission also approved an application by JB Pro acting as agent for M3 Avalon Woods. The total number of developable lots is 260. Also approved was a request for a preliminary plat approved for Post Wood subdivision. According to the plat, a total of 166 lots are proposed. So I did the math down below. I added these together, 350, 260, and 166 make 776 single-family units, plus 150,000 square feet of commercial use. So this is a lot of development going on in Newberry, which is only 13 miles away. I submit that with all this development going on in Newberry and a lot going on in Alachua and Gainesville, we don't need any more development here. I urge the commissioners not to approve any more large developments to try to keep High Springs as a small town. Moving on to Exhibit B. This is from the internet. The World Health Organization, United Nations. This is from the World Health Organization. More than 3 million people died as a result of harmful use of alcohol in 2016. This represents 1 in 20 deaths. More than 3/4 of these deaths were among men. Overall, the harmful use of alcohol causes more than 5% of the global disease burden. And these are my words down below. According to my calculation, this is more than 8,000 each day. In other words, more than 8,000 people die each day as a result of alcohol abuse. But yet, the commissioners allow High Springs Brewing to use the High Springs name to promote alcoholic beverages. Moving on to Exhibit 3, this is a book review from Science News. The title of the book is Journey into the World of Road Ecology. Let's read the underlined part. How has this book changed your perception of roads? One of the biggest takeaways is just how deleterious road noise pollution is. When you read the literature about the health effects and the ecological effects of road noise, you realize that it's truly one of the great unsung public health crises of our time. It's elevating our cortisol levels, raising our blood pressure, and making us more susceptible to cardiac disease and stroke. So we have quite a bit of noise pollution in High Springs. I live directly behind Barbara's Auto Service. That's close to 441. There's one house between my house and Barbara's Auto Service. When I sit on my front porch, try to listen to my radio, frequently I can't hear what's on the radio because of the noise pollution from cars, trucks, and motorcycles. So I ask the commissioners to be aware that there's a lot of noise pollution in High Springs. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else? No? Okay, then I will close the public comment section and ask if there are response from any commissioner. No? All right, then let's move along to new business. Item number 1.
Madam Mayor, this is Resolution 2023-P, a resolution setting the monthly salary for the office of the city commissioners and the mayor, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2023-P upon its reading by title only.
Commissioners' comments? Concerns?
I think this is an absolute non-issue. There is absolutely no way we should get a raise. Not good. I saw a raise for 3%. Oh,
Yeah,
fine.
the charter requires we set our salaries each year, so this is just
You have to
renewing
do it.
There was one
that
though,
you're
right?
gonna
I'm
pay the
correct?
commission.
Yeah. Well, then absolutely not for that.
Okay. We all agree. All right. Motion?
I make a motion that we pass Resolution 2023P, setting our salary at the same level as last year and with no increases, just like the directors.
Second.
Okay, so it's been properly moved and second that Resolution 2023-P be approved. We have room. Oh, citizens, any comments? We don't get no data boys?
Good job.
Thank you.
Commissioner Grunder,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
Mayor James.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ambrose.
Yes.
Okay.
Not a raise, right?
Resolution 2023-P is approved, 5-0. All right, item number 2 is Resolution 2023-R.
Madam Mayor, this is a quasi judicial proceeding, so we'll start off with asking anyone who intends to talk about this to raise your right hand, stand up, state your name, and we'll have you sworn in mass at this point. And we'll go around the room. Just for the record, we'll announce each person's name, starting with our city manager, Ashley Stathatos. So, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. So remain standing if you would, and we'll go around the room announcing who's going to testify.
Ashley Stathatos.
Name, please.
Why don't we start with you, sir? I'm sorry?
Joseph Thomas.
Can you tell our clerk your spelling of your name?
Joseph.
Thank you.
Kurt Heinmuller. Heinmuller.
Daniel Deal.
Jacqueline Davis.
David Lynch, L-I-N-C-H.
Christy Morgan, J-U-S-S-I-E-M-O-R-G-A-N.
Nelson, B-O-B-B-I-N-E-L-S-O-N.
Jason Sanchez. J-I-S-O-N.
Zachary Walter, Z-A-C-H-A-R-Y. That's Walter with no S on the end.
Evans, E-V-A-N-S.
Madam Mayor, I believe that's, oh, no,
And
Christie.
Kristen
Sorry,
Atkins.
sorry.
Just in case I'm needed.
Sorry about that, Christie.
All good.
The next item is to go with the commissioners, starting with Commissioner Grunder, and advise if there's any ex parte communication you've had regarding this conditional use permit.
I got an email. That was it.
And the email, you're going to listen to the testimony, the evidence that comes before you to make your unbiased decision this evening?
Yes, sir, I am.
Very good.
This commission got the same email, so the same. I also went into their shop in Alachua just to kind of see what it was about and spoke to their employees there. And that won't have any impact on my decision tonight.
I think we all got a copy of that same email.
Yep. I had the same email and traded back and forth, and we were all copied on all of that communication. And it will not interfere with my decision, as this is one of those instances you said, because it's quasi judicial, where we have to go by the facts that are presented here before us, correct? Okay.
That is correct. And at this point, we can have staff make their presentation. There was a comment made a little while ago about opinion testimony and factual testimony. My advice to the commission is you never leave common sense at the door. You always listen to common sense. That's part of what your decision is. Your decision in a quasi-judicial proceeding is based upon the evidence before you. And the evidence should be of substantial and competent persuasion to you such that you make your decision on that basis. And opinion testimony, so this is the question that was raised in the comment earlier, opinion testimony should be by people that have an expertise in a certain area. Typically, land planners like Christie and Ashley, they have letters after their name which relate to their schooling and their certifications and all of that sort of thing. So that's the testimony that you take from an opinion standpoint, if somebody has an expertise in that particular area. Now, you also can testify about things that you know about. You don't have to necessarily be college educated and have a degree in order to give opinion testimony if you have a basis as to how that is. And so if for example, if Byron knows a lot about cars, we've had talks about that, and if he told me something about a car, I know he has an expertise in car values and cars. So he could qualify as an expert in that particular area because he has experience and history and knowledge that allows for you to give that kind of opinion testimony. So that's what, when I say opinion testimony, that's what we're talking about in a quasi-judicial proceeding. So with that, we can have staff make their presentation to begin the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. So this presentation is for an application for a conditional use permit for a vape shop at the previous Alice's Parkside Restaurant, which I think is probably a better description than giving you the address. So it is Zone C3, and the future land use is commercial. So there are 8 conditions for approval of a conditional use permit, and I won't bore you by going through every single one of them, but the proposed and you have to meet all 8 conditions. So the proposed project meets conditions 3, 4, 6, and 7. As far as number 5, the applicant is limited somewhat by the FDOT right-of-way. And but he has said that he will do increased landscaping and buffering. And so 5 was, it has to have screening or buffering to prevent interference with enjoyment of surrounding areas. So the applicant is going to improve the site if this is improved to a substantial extent. So in all, you can say he meets number 5. The remaining items, number 1 and 8, are very subjective. Staff has done research. Number 1 is on the impact of the vape shop on neighborhoods, and number 8 is the impact on the vape shop on health, safety, and welfare. There are a number of articles that point to arguments on both sides. So staff's opinion on that is not to base your opinion on whether you are going to approve the conditional use or not on 1 and 8. Number 2 has to do, and we go often back to this on a number of cases, is if it's the vape shop is consistent with the character of an existing land use patterns in the surrounding area. So again, we're looking at compatibility as is usual on the planning and zoning cases. There are a number of uses that you could say are similar up and down 441, including a liquor store, the gas station sells vapes, a number of other businesses. There are more than one up and down 441. This type of use, if it is to be appropriate anywhere in the city, it would be along 441. The issue with this vape shop for you to consider, if it's an issue or not, is its location across from the park. That's the only thing that really makes this case unique is it compatible to the uses in the surrounding area, and will it have negatively impact the fact that a park is across from it. So that's really what you need to decide as a commission is the compatibility. The plan board voted that it was not consistent with the area. They voted against the conditional use permit. But I will say that within their consideration, it was a 3-1 vote, and there was a lot of thinking going on back and forth, so it wasn't a slam dunk with them. So the other thing to consider is that conditional use permits, that you can grant them with conditions. So whereas other cases on zoning, you can't necessarily put conditions on them, you can on conditional use permits. That's why they're called conditions. So if you are worried about it being across from a park, you can do things like require additional screening. You can ask them to take their pole sign down and do a monument sign. You can ask them on their signage to only cover a smaller percentage of the building and not put signs all in the windows. So there are things that you can do to make it less visible from people at the park as well. So I'm going to leave it to y'all to have that discussion. If you have any questions, obviously I'm here, as well as
And you have a
Christie.
little more discretion because it is a conditional use to fit whatever conditions you deem are appropriate in the decision that you make. Using those 8 items, you have a lot of leeway and more discretion in your decision-making.
All right, commissioners.
Madam Mayor, I have a question I'd just like to put into context for myself. We have a smoke shop that's in the Winn-Dixie Plaza. They did not require a conditional use permit, correct?
Right.
So can you explain to me why this does?
They were essentially grandfathered in because the schedule of uses, the table, didn't require it to have a conditional use permit at the time it went in. But if it went in now, it would be required to get one.
No comments? No questions?
I'm not happy that it's gonna go in across from our park at all. I think that's a bad look. Unfortunately, there's been, I know having a 13-year-old son, that the vape thing has been mesmerizing to kids. And I'm gonna tell you the truth, the last thing I'm willing to do is bring another vape shop to High Springs.
Anybody else?
I'd like to hear what the citizens have to say, but I mean, and I get what you're saying, Commissioner Grunder, on that, but I also look at it this way. It's a divided highway and there's a fence. And it's limited to 21 years of age. And I have some suggestions on some conditions for it to potentially move forward. Unlike the store that's literally by the parking lot, that anyone of any age can go in, and they sell a variety of things, including vapes, and they sell individual cigarillos, and the kids can stand in line while all those things are being purchased, including individual shots of alcohol. So we've already got the exposure in the community, and I know, well, that doesn't necessarily mean more is better, but looking at it from a use rights in someone who's interested in investing and reading, I read all the comments online. They were included in our packet. And there were a lot of people who were against vaping, and not unjustly. I mean, I don't vape. I don't think it's a good idea, what have you, but, you know, I am not to legislate other people's behavior, I don't think. So, you know, I look at it right now, it's a building that's becoming blighted. This is a potential to improve the look along the corridor. And like I said, I have some suggestions on the conditional part of it. But also, you know, this gentleman has communicated to us, and he's got a history of other businesses. You know, it's not your typical vape shop. And I think it's an opportunity. He's a local resident. He's invested. He's not coming in from out of town to do something to us. He's a part of the community. And I think that deserves some credence that this would be something that we can work out and not make it a terrible thing. I mean, this community used to be upset at the idea that we'd have alcohol on Sundays. And, you know, it hasn't been detrimental overall, and it's revitalized a lot of our downtown. So I think we need to give this due consideration, and even though it is across from a park, there's a liquor store across from the park already. And, you know, kids are exposed to a whole lot of things. I'm not sure a sign, you know, in a store is gonna push them over the edge, and maybe it's a time for some really good conversations.
Anyone else?
Yes, please,
ma'am.
Madam Mayor. I, along with Commissioner Grunder, have seen the increased use of these kinds of products with kids. My 15-year-old at her high school, it's everywhere. And I did hear the people at the shop in Alachua talk about it's a way to help get you off cigarettes, and I believe that. You know, I'm not that guy, but I believe that's accurate. I have no reason to not believe that, but it's still nicotine, and the flavoring is still very, very popular with kids. And now it's in the middle schools. It's not just the high schools, it's the middle schools. And for me, it's not the idea of this business is not necessarily objectionable to me, even though I don't participate. I wasn't really super pleased with the glassware that I saw in the shop in Alachua, because that indicates one particular kind of use that we're all pretty familiar with. Well, not familiar, but, you know, and having that kind of visual for kids is difficult for me. And I saw the one area where there was CBD products, but also THC products. So we're not a recreational use state. We may be someday. But for me, the proximity to the park is a difficult one for me to swallow. I hear what Commissioner Ambrose is saying. There's you know, an alcohol joint across the street too. But the kids are there, and you know, there are ordinances that keep certain businesses from being in close proximity to schools, and maybe one of the things that we should look at eventually as a city is having ordinances for that kind of stuff in proximity to public parks as well. I don't know, you know, what kind of authority we have to do that, but along the same lines as not having things close to schools, because that's where the kids are. But, you know, I did some research on my own, and, you know, I get that you're no longer lighting up smoke and you're not inhaling smoke, but you're still getting a lot of nicotine. I asked the gentleman in Alachua how many of the no nicotine e-liquids they sold, and they certainly said very few compared to the 3 to 6 milligrams per milliliter liquids. But, I mean, I appreciate your approach and the fact that you were very forthcoming and your email was very professional, and I believe your desire to have a successful business here to be genuine. But my biggest issue is the general location. And I would like to know if the property owner, whenever they have a chance, understood that there would need to be a conditional use permit when they bought the property.
Christy, can you answer that since you're the one that talks to them when they come in?
So I believe they did know when they bought it. I mean, our code is online, and they're welcome to call us anytime. I don't specifically remember if I talked to them before they bought it, though. When they first tried to apply, they hadn't formally bought it yet. I had to wait for them to submit a document that stated that it was in their name. So I would think that alone would mean, if they didn't close on it before they knew, I would think that they knew before they closed on it.
Okay. Well, maybe they could answer that question. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Excuse my ignorance, but what you do at a vape shop, you just buy products? They don't sit there and smoke? So somebody can tell me what a vape shop is? Please do.
Yeah, a vape shop is exactly what it sounds like. In our shop specifically, people are allowed to vape. It's pretty open and typical. We sell juices, coils, and all the accoutrements for those more advanced vapor sets. Not typical to the stuff you see in gas stations around you. So we're more of a specialty shop.
So you actually sit there and vape, or whatever you want to call it?
Some people do. I mean, generally the people that work there, sometimes we're testing products that we're bringing in, things like that.
But it's not like if someone pictured a hookah joint where people are sitting around
No,
all.
nothing like that.
you know,
No, people aren't sitting there just pumping
Yeah.
out all day.
Okay.
If they come in and say hello for 5 minutes and talk to somebody that they see once a week, I mean, that's what
So-
people do. But
How long is a customer typically in the store?
5 to 20 minutes, depending.
And how many, like, you have a store that's been on 441 in Alachua for a number of years. How many customers a day do you think come in and out of there?
Roughly, I'd say we average between 40 and 60 a day.
Okay. And what are the hours of that store?
Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then Friday, Saturday till 9.
Okay. So not late night, and are those hours that you anticipate keeping here in High Springs?
Absolutely. Might roll it back a little earlier.
Okay.
Did I read in your paperwork that possibly you could do something in terms of landscape to sort of?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm actually doing some plant selections this week to try to beautify that lot, because right now it just looks like an old garage sitting there in the middle of a big asphalt hole. So we do want to pretty it up. We do want it to look nice, and I'd really like to clear the homeless people out from behind it.
I guess I'm looking for something that won't make it quite so open for the kids, since it is right at the park.
Oh.
Now, I know there's one across the street the other way, and that's my concern. We already got one. And then put the other one right there. But if we can sort of landscape it differently, make it look a little bit different, I think it would make it a lot easier for me to go along with.
I would absolutely be willing to work with the commission on trying to figure out something acceptable. Go ahead.
So would you also, like, there's a store near my house that on the parking boulevards, they have temporary signs with their specials on cigarettes that go up, and there are other signs that go in the window. Would you be willing, as part of a conditional use permit, to limit your signage to, like your pole sign and whatever lettering you put on the door, and then not have other visual images and things like that?
That is kind of how we set up our shops currently. If somebody wants to pull up our website, you can see pictures of our storefronts. Generally, the only thing out front is a sign that says vape dimensions, and then our hours on the door, of course, and then we have one little roll-out sign that talks about one of our return policies, and that's it.
And then, and this would go with any business, I'm a fan of eliminating pole signs, and most communities are doing that too. I know there's one there right now that would really work well for you, but as part of a conditional use, I know in the past the commission has put longer term, so like if you stayed there and within the end of, 24 or 36 months, replace that with maybe a monument sign, so you're eliminating the pole sign, which, helps with the curb appeal along the way and the visual, noise.
Well, as a matter of cost and permitting, if the council could work with us on that, we would absolutely be happy at changing the current signage, even though it does fit our needs perfectly. But, I'm willing to work with setbacks and putting up foliage and different landscaping. I mean, if you guys have any recommendations, you can come meet me on Wednesday over there. The signage, absolutely. So, yeah, we are willing to work with the city commission and trying to find a amicable way to make this happen.
What I would recommend if you were to go the route with conditions is that I would recommend that you require a certain percentage of the frontage to be landscaped along the right-of-way, or that they comply with our existing landscape regulations as much as they can within the confines that the lot will allow it, because it is a,
There is an incredible amount of concrete
well,
across
yeah.
the front there.
The issue is that there's a large part of the lot is, they can't do anything with because it's, FDOT right of way. So, but within what he can do after clearing the FDOT right of way, that we can work with him on that. There's, normally tree, bush, that sort of stuff that we try to set it up as close as possible, knowing that there's no way he's going to really be able to comply
Totally.
based on the
Yeah.
lot configuration. So,
Yeah.
and then we could just give him a copy of our landscape regulations to see what he can do with it,
Okay.
if you decide to approve it. And I like the idea of the pole sign coming down within a specified period of time, and possibly the percentage of the building that's allowed to have signage that has something about vape, so that you don't have it in the windows, like, signs all over the place in the windows, which I don't think you were planning to do anyway, so.
No, we're very conscious about our business, and we work really hard to make sure that any advertising that we do, as little as we are able to do, is targeted directly. If we've got signs sitting all over the place and things filling up our windows, there's no telling who that's reaching. And, we don't want to advertise like cigarette prices. They advertise cigarette prices. A kid can do a calculation and knows exactly how much to give to a guy to send him in, So that's another reason for not advertising our prices. When people call in, one of our biggest policies is they call in, they go, how much is a coil or how much is a bottle of juice? And we go, sorry, we can't quote prices on the phone because we don't know who we're talking to. So, like I said, I'm not going to convince any of y'all that vaping is something that, you want or think is safe. But I would like you to give me the chance to fail.
So what's juicing? What'd you say, juicing?
Juice. It's the fluid we put inside.
Oh,
our
the
vapes.
foot
It
putting,
contains-
ain't nothing you just,
No, it actually has a coil, a wire,
Not that
some
juice.
cotton.
Not that juice. Not that juice.
I have no clue what a vape shop is, no more when I see on television.
Well, you should come see us. You should come check us out.
Yeah, I'm allergic to smoke, so,
It's okay, it won't bother you.
yeah.
It's vegetable glycerin and propylene glycol, man.
Yeah.
And the flavorings that are in there are all the exact same flavorings that you guys eat in ice cream every day. That's how they're able to have a vape liquid or a flavor that's like Arizona iced tea or something like that, because it's all the same flavorings. So,
And you say you'll be there on Wednesday?
We have a very strict policy about any
young people coming in. We card everybody that, doesn't already have an account that we don't know. And if there's any evidence,
Of a straw
of a
purchase.
straw purchase, we won't allow it.
Now, what's a straw
We
purchase?
won't allow it. If you let this vape shop come into High Springs, it won't be any of our stuff in that middle school. Won't be any of our stuff we took a hit when they went up to 21 and above. Our best customers were, 18, 19, and 20. But we really, we want to be law abiding. We've had people come in and try to purchase. And the police officer has his car parked on the blind side of the building and then sends a little girl in to, oh, can I have that? Hi, do you have your ID?
Have you ever failed an inspection
Never
No,
once.
on any of your stores?
Never,
No.
never once.
And including the false buy tests and all that type of thing?
right.
Never had any.
Because
results
we're so determined on it, and we tell all our staff is very conscious of it. In fact, we brag about it in our memos to one another. Yeah, I just sent 3 of them packing that came in here and.
Wanted to use their
One
picture
had-
of their ID on their phone or something like that.
Yeah,
Which,
so we're very, we're very conscientious about that. We're very strict about that. We won't.
I'm not losing my gun rights over selling vape to minors. So
No. No. It is a law.
Plus, we also have families in this area. We raise our families here. We have families we have children in the schools. I have a child in middle school. We have kids in elementary school. We're very conscious
I have
of
5
what we
children,
sell,
none of them vape.
how we're perceived by the public, and we do our best to keep our advertising plain, blunt. Most of our products inside the shop do not have any pictures of cartoon characters on them. Most of them don't have colorful pictures. Most things are very plain packaged, and we do that. We took that step initially before the laws even pushed the rest of the industry in
and
that direction.
bullied some of our suppliers into changing their packages as well, because we're like, it can't look like a Jolly Rancher, man. And now it's actually state law that CBD products and Kratom products and all those things, that not only do they have the age restriction of 21 and up permanently, but they are also being scrutinized about their packaging. And when I know one of your concerns was about our CBD products and the variations of hemp-derived THC, like HHC, THCP, Delta V, Delta 10, Delta 8. There's a litany of them. 137 other cannabinoids that are found in the hemp plant that are also psychoactive compared to Delta 9 THC, which is what is regulated and used for medical purposes. It's not about recreation for a lot of folks that use our CBD products. A lot of people are trying to find out if medical cannabis is right for them when they try out these, forgive the terminology, but it's really just kind of all we got is marijuana light for the CBD products. So people try these products before they decide to go through the process with a doctor. And they are completely legal, because as long as their total THC, Delta 9 THC content is below 0.03%, it's considered federally and state legal.
But you're not a medical dispensary.
You don't have to be, ma'am.
Never will be.
Not for
I'm just
CBD.
making that clarification.
Absolutely, and I don't intend to be. The previous meeting, one of their big concerns was that we might one day start selling marijuana. I'm sorry, that's not gonna be a thing. It's far too complex and expensive for very, very little return. So don't worry, we're not interested in that.
So you're not intending to be a dispensary, but you still have the glassware.
Absolutely,
And you've
to
got
serve our
THC
customers.
products still, though, right?
I'm sorry?
You do still have THC products in the store.
Absolutely, that all conform.
And
to
that's
the legal
different from
limits of state law. Yes,
CBD.
ma'am. CBD.
Still classified as CBD.
Yes, when it's derived from hemp products, it's completely.
They made a
legal.
distinction for me in the Alachua store that there was CBD, products and THC products. Can you explain to me how those are different?
Oh, yes, ma'am. So for some civil servants, they come to us asking for CBD products, but they have fear of failing a drug test. So there are products that are just straight isolated CBD. They're kind of getting a little more rare because they're figuring out that a little bit of THC, the legal limit, 0.03%, inside these CBD gummies enhances their effects for the customer. So it's getting rarer and rarer to find isolated CBD instead of products that have a synergy of both. So, yeah, they call them full spectrum extractions, but they do absolutely meet all of the state laws, all of the federal standards completely.
So there are state laws that govern these type of shops. Am I correct? And you said the age limit is 21?
Yes, sir. And that is to enter the facility.
So, and I have a question for the attorney. Okay, let's say we have one vape shop in town and we decide that's enough and we don't want any more, and we don't want any around parks or daycares or anything like that. How might that be perceived? I mean, we don't limit number of restaurants or auto parts places or pizza stores. Are we legally allowed to just say we think we have enough? Or does that open us up to a challenge?
If that was your decision-making result that you came to today based upon that line of reasoning, I think that would open you up to a challenge.
Yes.
So I don't think I think that I'll maybe jump in on what Ashley's going to say as well. Compatibility overall is something that you can look at, and I think, as Ashley said earlier, that's an area that is a little more subjective, I think, in this instance. And that's why Ashley talked about C3 in the surrounding areas and the fact that there is a park across the street. So she laid the groundwork for you on those things. However, the state law does not say that you have to be 500 feet away from a school like a medical marijuana dispensary or a place that sells alcohol. These shops do not have such restrictions in state law. So that's just some background for you.
I kind of like to add one more thing, is that, you know, in our code, you're supposed to reference one of the 8 reasons, and within, if you deny it, and there's nothing in those 8 reasons that says, you know, there's too many. There's nothing that says there's a limit on the number. So I think if the code was different, then possibly, but we'd have to even vet if that's allowed to be put in code. But right now, there'd be nothing of the 8 to reference for as that being a reason.
In other words, as she's saying, that would not be a basis for you to deny that we have one already and that we have to now say no more. That would be an inappropriate legal reason, and in my view, would not stand up.
So something that we're saying, we have to prove both of these regardless.
So mainly, everything in here he's either complying with, or it's so subjective in staff's research that, say that you were to pick number 8, which is health, okay? But there's arguments both ways. One is, you know, it actually helps people get off vaping. The other is that people might start it who never would, right? So because there's both articles, that's too subjective. You can't put your hand on it. But if there were articles just purely one way and not the other, then you can maybe hang your hat on that being a reason to deny. But in this case, the only thing that staff feels like you really can look at, because they comply or it's subjective, is the compatibility of those 8 items.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there are compatible uses, but it's across from a park, so.
Yeah. And see, that's what I'm dealing with. It's not compatible to in the surrounding area as of now.
But-
It's
So there are compatible uses up and down 441.
Up and
within
down
the
441.
But within the vicinity, there's some close enough.
Yeah.
But again, the other ones aren't directly across from the park except for the convenience store, which is not like a pure vape shop.
Right.
So that's where y'all have to make the decision.
So you need to come to the
Okay.
mic. You're making a wrong argument.
All right, we're talking about the compatibility when everything that is sold at that store, pretty much, I'd say 99% of it, if it's sold in the same category at the Kangaroo or Circle K, which is directly adjacent to the park, which is closer to the park than what we are. And also CVS, I'm pretty sure CVS sells alcohol also, right? And CBD. So, I mean, 80% of our stuff that's being sold inside of our stores can be purchased at 3 other locations within 500 yards. So the compatibility, I mean, it's already there. That's my one thought on it.
The one question.
And I would like to add that those all went in when, those uses were allowed before there was conditions.
Yes, yes, ma'am, I understand that,
So
but I'm
I-
saying that we're not making the
Yeah.
situation worse, is what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
yeah, so,
Well, the apples to apples comparison though with CVS and the other stores also though is 100% of their sales are not going just as cigarettes or whatever. CVS doesn't sell cigarettes anymore. I know they used to. But
Yeah.
then I guess they decided maybe it didn't kind of go with the whole health food or,
Yeah, but
prescription
they
drugs.
They brought in alcohol, which kills way more people.
But, the line, I don't know what their business, what their transactions are in a day, but it's probably not primarily vape products. The gas station probably sells more gas than it does vape products. So I
The
don't
gas
know
is
if
there
we
to bring
can,
them in.
we
I
can
managed
really.
that store for years. The gas is there to bring people in to buy alcohol and
Well,
cigarettes.
I buy gas from there. I never bought them cigarettes.
I don't go in.
I
That's
never
right.
bought no alcohol
We're
out
talking
there.
about
That's not a true statement.
Okay. They don't make money off fuel.
I just got a problem because across from that,
Yes,
the park. That's,
It's all right.
if
It's
it
cool.
had been zoned for that, okay, but it's not zoned for that, it's not, and I just got a problem putting it across from the park where our children play at.
Okay.
I have a problem with that.
I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Sorry, man, if you
Do we,
you just don't have area.
do we want to put a motion on the floor and then have our form of public comment and move along?
Well, now we're going to open
That's
for
up to
public comment here in a minute.
Sure.
Are we questioning up here?
Okay.
All right. Do we have comments, questions from the audience?
Good evening, I appreciate your time. I've been a customer of Dan's shop since they opened day one. I was a 25-year smoker of cigarettes, and they allowed me an avenue to break free of that I've tried several times in the past, more than 6 times, to get off of myself using patches, gum, things of that nature. I have gone to a point where using zero nicotine, just because the fact that I personally enjoy it. I have children in my home, middle school and high school, and I can tell you, they have zero desire. I have put this into their heads, that this is not something for them. I understand children are gonna get their own, reserves about things and wanna try things. I was a kid, 10 years old, I tried smoking, and from that day on, I smoked cigarettes. That's quite young, absolutely. So I understand your reservations about it. I truly do, and I feel it. But I can honestly tell you, in the years that I've been going to their shop, not just the one in Alachua, the one in Gainesville, and Lake City, there isn't a single time that I can go in there and see children in there. The convenience store right next to the park, kids walk across that street every single time. They can walk in there, they can get anything that they want at free will. I know people that, I don't know them personally that work in there, but I have seen them. They really have no reservations about selling if they can. These people here will not absolutely will not sell to anybody that's under 21 years of age. Anybody that comes in at that they don't know, they always card. Me personally, I have a relationship with them just because of the fact that I've been there and have gone there for years. They are very family-based. They are 100% community-based. And I truly believe if you say yes to bringing them in, you will not be disappointed one bit. I thank you for your time.
David Lynch. I would like to ask the commissioners to follow Mr. Grunder's lead and vote against it. Is a vape shop something that is going to enhance the community? Is it going to make the community better? It's more or less something similar to High Springs Brewing. And I live directly behind Barbara's Auto Service. This property is about 250 feet from my house. If I'm sitting on my front porch, if I turn my head to the left like this, I'm looking directly at the property. So I have an 11-year-old daughter. Is this going to be a positive influence on my daughter? And so High Springs is a Christian area. There are about 25 churches in High Springs. And the Christian religion teaches against bad association. So if you approve this, you're forcing me to associate with something that I don't want to associate with. I'm sitting on my front porch and I look to the left and I'm looking directly at it.
Hi. So I was a teacher for 15 years, and my name is Jennifer Lee. I was a teacher for 15 years. Smoking is not an issue in our schools. Vaping is an issue. That is the biggest fight we are fighting in the high schools is vapes. Vapes look like highlighters. And I've had 3 students specifically who have permanent lung damage. One almost died, actually 2 almost died from vaping alone. The one did it for less than 3 years, and he has permanent, horrible lung damage from it. I'm not going to go into that because I'm not a doctor, but I will tell you firsthand experience with these kids. It is a huge, huge issue. You talk about the fact that there's the Circle K and this and then that. Well, I will tell you, NIH.gov, National Institute for Health, has done research after research. The adolescent vaping is related to greater exposure to vape retailers and advertising. So yes, it's already here. We can't control that now, but if we add more, that's what the study shows, that the more that there is, the higher the rates go up for kids vaping. Now, kids who vape, if we look at University of Texas and San Antonio studies that have been done, teens who vape are more likely to steal and commit crimes. There's a number of studies that have proven that. Now, back to, well, we raised the age to 21. Yes, the age has been raised to 21, but now because the age has been raised to 21, crimes have gone up. Everywhere there's vape stores, and you look it up because it's there. One of the sites is tobaccoreporter.com. There's a lot of sites that have it. But since the age has been raised to 21, since certain flavors have been banned, all that stuff, that has directly caused an increase in crime. Because of that, because they can't get it, so now they're getting it on the black market, their robberies go up. We don't want crime to go up. And if these stores are bringing the crime rate, yeah, they're not selling to 21-year-olds, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying. So anyway, that's what I got to say. Expert studies there.
You're welcome. Hey, I figured we could teeter-tot it back and forth. For, against, for, against, for, against. My name is Jessie Morgan. I live here in High Springs, and I run a financial consulting and education firm. I started smoking when I was 13 years old, cigarettes, back in the day, the 90s. Teenage rebellion, what have you. I feel like what kids go through, they're gonna find whatever it is that they wanna do, whatever's cool, whatever's rebellious, whatever's gonna make their parents mad or whatever it is. If they need it, it doesn't matter if it's cigarettes, it's alcohol, it's vaping, they're gonna do what they're gonna do. That was me. I was a rebellious 13-year-old, and I wanted to make my parents mad and fit in with the cool kids at school, so I picked up smoking cigarettes, because back in the 90s, that's what kids did when they wanted to rebel. I tried to quit multiple times as an adult. I was never successful. I tried the Florida Quit stuff, the smoking cessation programs that the Shands and UF Health puts on, patches and all that fun stuff. Nothing worked. And actually not long ago, I was inspired by a couple of people that are close to me, and I also was not a fan of vaping, which is why I never even learned about it or educated myself on it or even entered a vape shop, because I actually hated it, which is weird as a smoker that I would hate vaping, but I did. But I had a couple of people close to me, a family member and also a close business associate, that had switched from cigarettes to vaping and had actually used it as a method to quit smoking. And I was coming up on 30 years as a cigarette smoker, and I decided that I didn't want that to be my story anymore. So I went into their shop, and I walked in the door and I said, you know, I've been smoking for 29 years, and if it gets to a few more months from now, that's gonna hit 30, and I don't wanna do that. And you know, I really don't like vaping, but is there a way for this to actually make it so that I can quit not only smoking, but also not be a vapor forever? I don't want to be permanently addicted to nicotine anymore. I want to come off cigarettes, but I also want to come off of nicotine. And then eventually I don't want to vape at all. I don't want to be one of those people that vapes forever instead of cigarette smoking. One of the things that I help people with in my financial business is life insurance. And life insurance pricing is based off of mortality rates. The higher the chance that you're gonna die prematurely, the more expensive it is. So one of the big factors in that is tobacco nicotine use. So I wanted to come off of it because I want to live a long time. And these guys explained to me exactly how they assessed my situation, asked all the questions, figured out a plan for me for how to quit smoking and come off of nicotine completely. And because of that, I've been able to also educate a lot of my friends about it too, and they're doing the same thing. Mm-hmm.
Did it work for you?
Yes, actually, so I actually just met them, what was it, like March of this year. I was smoking a pack a day of cigarettes. Within the last few months, I've been able to get myself all the way down from a pack a day, no cigarettes at all within 2 weeks of meeting these guys. And then I've been weaning myself down off of the nicotine. Now I'm at the lowest level of nicotine that they make, and I'll be on 0 very soon. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Charles Rashad, and I've heard people say these things about the vaping and the cigarettes. Has there been a study on what cancer does? I mean, nobody knows anything about that now. I have lost a lot of family members to cancer, and I know people that quit smoking and went to vaping. I don't do vaping. I never even smoked cigarettes because when I was growing up here, I used to work in tobacco fields. I hated tobacco so much, and I promised I would never smoke. So that's one reason I didn't do that. But the study, we find out, I mean, we hear about the studies about different things all the time, but cancer, how could we not forget about cancer? In the park out there, they got a store there, and I know I've seen kids come in there and try to buy cigarettes, but I don't know of anyone that has lost their life, and I'm sure it is,
but it's been more people that died from cancer, cigarettes, than vaping. I mean, you're gonna talk to kids and tell them what to do, and they're gonna decide to do what they own on their own. And I never wanted to vape or smoke, so, but I just wanted to say that when you make your decision about what you wanna do, just consider both of them, cause, I mean, there's good and bad to everything, both sides, but I just think that vaping, I mean, give them a chance. If they break the law, then we kick them out of here. We can kick them out of here. But that's just my opinion. I just wanted to say that. All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
My name is Zachary Walter. I don't personally believe in recreational use of, alcohol, tobacco, vape products. I know there's a distinction. But the city has a comprehensive plan for a reason, right? We have zoning for a reason, and if the only question at hand is compatibility, you've got evidence of businesses that sell similar product within a certain square footage. It's kind of hard to justify saying no, in my view, to an investor who's willing to make every accommodation for the city's requests. And at what point do you make the distinction between what's the responsibility of the city government versus what's the responsibility of the private citizen to regulate themselves or their children? And so, if the issue at hand is compatibility, which I believe is what I'm hearing correctly, I would just, as much as people have personal stories, ultimately it's about whether or not this could fit within the context of everything else that's come into the city. In my view, you let the market decide whether or not the business can be successful, but I don't think it would be fair to deny them the opportunity if they're willing to accommodate every request that the city is making of them, and they're willing to operate their business responsibly, and they're willing to abide by every law that's set before them, everything that regulates them. So that's just, my opinion on the topic. If that's what you're here to judge, is whether or not it fits within how the city is zoned, I would just encourage you to think of it in that context. And I don't even use these products. It's not a business that my money would go to. But again, thinking about how we want to grow in our comprehensive plan, I don't see how the city could justify closing the door basically on the opportunity if they meet most of the requirements, and the other ones they're willing to make accommodations to meet. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, one more time. Anybody else? Oh, here come one. Oh, she's going out the door. Oh, okay. Hello.
This is Natalia. It's great. It's my first meeting. I have a question. Could we bring up the picture of the building we're talking about? Because I just wanted to clarify some things. I used to work on a tree company, and I just want to know, what kind of barricade are we talking about? Because from what I can see, we don't have a lot of space to work with, and even if we did plant items, it's going to take years for them to grow to even be able to cover that amount of space, like bushes. And we're also going into winter right now, so even if we did plant anything, probably wouldn't be till spring till it starts taking off, if they even make it through the winter. And then if we don't use plants, we're going to be using some kind of fencing. And I know one of the main points is that it's going to be increasing curb appeal, but I don't understand how some half-dead bushes or some very large fencing is going to do that. And I understand right now it looks like a dilapidated building, but is it better to have a building that maybe have a better use, and maybe next year someone will find an interest in it, versus having some blacked out windows, some minimal signage, and some maybe foliage. And that's beside the point of vaping doesn't. Thank you so much for your guys' testimonies. I appreciate that. I'm glad it's helping people. But I just think that our town, it wouldn't benefit from that, not only because we already have vaping areas, which everyone's talked about, for people to get those things here, but the fact that it is so close to a park is not going to be helping that image, which is something else we're working towards. I feel like You know, we just raised the taxes, you know, we're like really working towards public image and helping our town and like revitalizing the town, and I don't think this would really fit with that agenda. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I see.
Good evening. My name is Bobby Nelson. I came to speak to you tonight on this subject. So I can't see this, so you're going to have to bear with me. So I wrote a few things out today. This usage may not be illegal for your requirements, but sometimes there are other contributing factors, not just requirements. So let's start with the health benefits. There are none. Your statute stated would not pose a health risk. Well, it does. Vaping is a major health risk and causes irreparable damage. There's no going back from the scar tissue that it causes. They call it popcorn lung. I got this off of the American Lung Association website. So for those that don't believe it, that's fine. As Mr. Dean stated, he's going to sell just the juice, which is not harmful. But they have to add things to the juice in order for it to become a vapor. What are those ingredients? At the very least, you're inhaling a foreign substance into your lungs, which is harmful. The American Lung Association states that a study from the University of North Carolina found that the two primary ingredients found in e-cigarettes is propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin, which is what he stated it is. The propylene, I can never say it, glycol, is used as a de-icing agent. You're inhaling that into your lungs. That's healthy. Your requirements for 1 and 8, here's number 8. Anything you're ingesting in, you're supposed to breathe air in your lungs, not foreign substances. So, they are toxic to the cells, and more ingredients in this e-cigs are more toxic. E-cigarettes produce a number of dangerous chemicals, including aldehydes. They can cause lung disease as well as cardiovascular heart disease. E-cigarettes contain acrolein and herbicide primarily used to kill weeds. It can cause acute lung injury and COPD and may cause asthma and lung cancer. The Food and Drug Administration has not found any e-cigarette to be safe and effective in helping quitting smoking. So on to the next thing to me that is the location. First and foremost, it's across from the ball fields, which on a daily basis, there's hundreds of impressionable children multiple times a week. Is it legal to have the establishment there? Apparently from your guidelines, no. Is it morally and ethically wrong? I believe it is. These children look to the adults for guidance in what is right and wrong. The store in front of them is sending a bad message and precedent to things to come. I'll preface with that we have one vape store now. We're going to let this one in, and we have another one coming behind it. When does it stop? Bear with me just a minute. Our children look to the adults for the guidance, and while they're waiting to play their game, they'll be looking at this vape store and all of the adults going in and out. It will pique their curiosity because the adults put it there, and it must be good. So if it's so great for adults, maybe we should try it out. Vaping has far more surpassed smoking now. It's the new cool thing to do, and I'm well aware the same can be said for liquor and tobacco, and I would be just concerned about those. I fully understand the convenience stores sell them. Therefore, we don't need a store that specifically does it. We're inundated with it now. Our children are seeing it everywhere. I'll get on to the next one. Can I just finish this last little bit? So,
cut it short.
All right, so Mr. Dean says that he's got the 2 stores in Gainesville and Lake City. Lake City has become the crime capital, one of our crime capital cities. There's a vape store in every corner. So that in itself is, not a good sign. I won't even get into the glass pipes and all of that. But the other thing is our community is the gateway to the springs. We have Olino State Park. People come out here for the nature, beautiful springs, and to get away from the big city life. They're not coming for our smoking and vape shops. They want food options, quaint shops, the farmer's market, antiques, Grady House bed and breakfast, Bambi's, the local cabin, tiny homes for Airbnbs, spins, and entertainment venues. Our vape shops, smoke shops, the image you want people visiting here instead of the country clean living, our awesome mural portrays.
Okay.
Okay, just one more thing. I'm almost
No,
done.
we done now. That's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, we thank you for your comments. And at this time, commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I really believe that as one of the citizens commented, government at some point has to let people be responsible. And if a business is a legal operation, whether I agree with it or not, it's a pretty high bar on whether or not I'm going to say no just because I don't like it or I don't think it fits. I'm also impressed by the number of staff that are here and their seeming willingness to want to be good partners with the city of High Springs. So I don't think we can say no just because we don't like it. And I don't think we should say no based on what the attorney said because we've already got a vape store and we don't want any more. I also know from experience you have to find, if it's a legal business, you have to have a place in the city for it to occur. And if you don't do that, you're exposing yourself. And so I look at other areas in the city, and I heard our city manager say the 441 corridor is the most likely. And, it is on the other side of a divided highway. It's 21 and over. There's a liquor store within view of those fields. There's a store that's already doing things, and it hasn't been, the world has not fallen down. And so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'd like to go ahead and make a motion, and maybe it'll get seconded or not, I don't know, that we approve the request with the condition that they not have window signs, black them out, but not have the window signs and the loud advertising, along the way, that within 24 months, there's a monument sign that comes down. And I don't know that the landscaping is necessarily to block the facility, but I think it can absolutely improve the curb appeal, not only whether it's in the front or not, even along the sides or immediately in front of the building, or, if you did little, islands with a tree, I don't know. But the condition that they work with city staff to come up with a comprehensive landscaping plan that definitely is a higher standard, that it must be, planted and kept alive, and I don't know whether commissioners would have any other things that would make it more palatable, but I think we need to give him the chance to fail like he asked for. He's making an investment. He's located in the community, and I think he's heard our concerns and the citizens' concerns. He's got a lot to live up to. So I'm going to make the motion, with those 3 caveats, that we approve it. And I don't know.
Madam Mayor, I'm looking at 1, 2, and 8, and I've looked at this and I've done research, and one of the things that concerns me is that you don't know what you don't know. The federal government used to put unfiltered camels in their GI's packs before they sent them abroad, before we knew how bad they were. And I don't know that we've got a lot of data yet, because it's a pretty new industry in terms of long-term health effects. So I'm not sure that we can definitely say that the proposed conditional use will not interfere with or adversely affect the health, safety, or welfare of the surrounding community. I understand that there's the liquor store there, but that liquor store was there before we would have had the ability to say, no, it's not appropriate across from the street from the park. I can tell you that if they did ask for that now, I would also think a liquor store is not appropriate for across the street from a park. And this is becoming a huge epidemic for young people. I can appreciate the fact that it helps people who are legal adults that are smoking get off of cigarettes. That's a great thing. But I'm really concerned about the attractiveness it has to the young folks, whether you sell to 21 or not. And your guys in Alachua were very professional. It was a very neat shop. It looked, I had no problem with the way everything was displayed. But, would you let a 15-year-old go in with their parent? I don't know. I on purpose didn't bring my 15-year-old because I didn't want to put your employees in that situation, and I didn't want to, feel like I was setting you up. But I can tell you that real-time experience from my 15-year-old, they're stopping up toilets all the time at her high school because kids are flushing them down the toilet when they get caught with them. And it's quite an epidemic in the young folks, and it is nicotine. It's not smoke. So you're getting rid of the tar and the arsenic and lots of other really cool stuff in cigarettes, but you are still atomizing nicotine into your lungs, and you can't ignore that when it comes to kids. And that's my biggest. I appreciate Commissioner Ambrose's perspective that it's a legal business. The location across the street from a park is where I really get hung up here because the kids are there. I appreciate you guys coming, though. I really do. And you all spoke very eloquently, and you were very respectful, and I really appreciate you.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. Well, I'm not getting a second, so that means it goes nowhere. Okay, no second, so it dies.
Madam Mayor, you should deny the request. There should be a motion to deny. There should be a motion to continue this is to a date certain, a motion to approve with the conditions, or a motion to deny. So
Well, he had the motion with conditions.
So it died for lack of, so if somebody wants to put additional conditions on, they could do that, I suppose. But if you're going to deny it, you should deny it and state the basis for the denial.
Okay.
So the resolution will be to deny it, and then the grounds for the denial should be included in the resolution.
But the only basis that I have is because no one seconded.
Right. So the motion failed for the approval. Now.
For lack of a second.
For lack of a second. So that motion is dead.
Right.
But now we need to deal with the application for the permit still. It's not in limbo. It either needs denial, approval, or continue to a date certain in the future.
Okay, you guys got that one?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we deny based on Section 11.09.02, subsection 1. The proposed conditional use will not adversely affect or contribute to the deterioration of quality of life or property values in the immediate neighborhood. And subsection 8. The proposed conditional use will not interfere with or adversely affect the health, safety, or welfare of the surrounding community area.
I second.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to do with the conditional use, or I mean, the compatibility, you're denying it for health and safety.
My issue is compatibility as well, but health and safety is a big issue for me.
Okay.
The existing land use, item number 2 in that section also, I think is valid, given the fact that it is across the street from a park. So I could amend that motion and also include item number 2 as well, given its physical location and proximity to a public park.
Let's do that. And I would second that one as well.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that Resolution 2023-R be denied. So we back to roll call.
Commissioner Whites?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Mayor James?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ambrose?
No.
Commissioner Grunder?
Yes.
Okay.
So Christie, if you would draw the resolution with the denial and put those as the basis for the denial. Thank you.
Okay, denied 4-1. All right, the next item we have. All right, the next item we have is item number 3 for Resolution 2023-S. And at this one, I'm going to ask you to restate your,
Item number 3, Madam Mayor, I believe we're continuing on until the plan board can hear that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
motion
Madam
to
Mayor, I would
table.
make a motion that we table that until after the plan board has been able to hear that and vote on it, please.
Do we need to do a date?
Do we need a date to be certain?
If we do, I would do the second meeting in,
October 26th.
yes.
So is the plan board meeting October 22nd?
It's before that time, yeah.
Okay.
our mission would be the 22nd.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, did I get a second?
What was the motion?
My
To
motion is
table
to
this?
table it until the plan board can hear that and vote on it, and then bring it to the commission for the October 26th meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that Resolution 2023-S be tabled until our next meeting on October 22nd.
October 26th.
26? October 26th, everybody. Okay, do we need to do a roll call on this one? No, it's just done. Okay,
Well, we need a
Vote,
vote.
then vote.
All in favor?
all right. All those in favor of tabling Resolution 2023-S respond with aye, please.
Aye.
All right, those opposed, same sign. All right, resolution table for 10/26, until 10/26. And item number 4 is ordinance 2023-12. And it is also one that we would like to table.
We already took that off the agenda.
Yeah, we took that one out. Okay, at this point, we are ready for city attorney reports and update.
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
All right.
The rollout for AMI will be starting in October. The water bills have a pamphlet on how that's going to work, and it's more explanation and video is on our website. And Kevin gets to take all the calls when people have questions.
Is that all you have?
Yes.
All right. No? All right, Commissioner Grundon, none.
I like to keep these short normally, but I definitely want to challenge city staff even more after all the great work they've done and that they continue to do. But I'm serious about rolling this millage back next year, if we can do that. And I know that we need to lock it in and really sit down and have some good conversations. And I'm praying that the things that are supposed to come online the way we think they are. But I think we owe that to the people. We're asking something of them during a time when everybody else is asking for their pound of flesh, and we need to do what we can to try to bring that back next year. And I think we can. This group up here together, I think we can do that. And I think working with the city, and I think the city staff we have in place will absolutely be able to do that with us as well. And as always, our city staff is amazing, and I'm very glad to be getting their pay up a little bit because Commissioner Ambrose hit the nail on the head. We have been a training ground for a lot of people and gotten a lot of people really good jobs other places based on the qualifications that they've walked out of our city with and the experience. So I'm glad we're moving in the right direction on that.
Yep.
Thank you.
I just had one thing, Madam Mayor. The new hanging baskets and the pots. I've been noticing Amy driving around, and I think it's Wayne, is that his name? Who's been putting the water in? He is climbing up and down ladders all over town, and just so we can have those pretty flowers. And I just wanted to thank him for that. Thank you, ma'am.
We'll pass it along.
That's it. Bruce, what's the dates for the meetings about the new meters in the different communities?
Kevin and I need to get together and put it together. We just haven't done it yet. I gotta find some new locations. So I've got, I believe your church is still available, correct? I need to get with Elliot and find out when the Civic Center AC is gonna be fixed. I gotta find one other alternate location. So we're working on that now.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I have, ma'am.
That's it.
Mayor, I have one more thing.
Okay.
Elliot, can you please come up here and talk about the 2 events coming up?
Good evening, Mayor,
Good
Vice Mayor,
evening.
Commissioners, Madam City Attorney, City Manager. My name is Elliot Harris, Director of Parks and Rec. So I partnered with, or the city has partnered with, it's kind of short. The city has partnered with a nonprofit organization by the name of Blossom and Butterfly. They are known throughout Alachua County for giving assistance to women that are on or have some type of cancer. Some of you may know, but I lost my wife about 1.5 years ago to ovarian cancer, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart. My son recently was diagnosed about a month and a half ago with appendix cancer, which has developed into stomach cancer. So this is something that's very near and dear to me, and I thought it was a great opportunity to spread awareness about cancer, about early detection, and also testing and finding out, genetics within your family. That's how we get ahead of this ugly thing called cancer. So on October the 7th, Blossom and Butterfly, on October the 7th, Blossom and Butterfly, as well as Deeper Purpose Church, which is a church that does a lot of great things here in our community. They're going to partner and do a 3K walk at the Civic Center here. There's going to be a lot of vendors. University of Florida Health is going to be out to pass out and distribute information about cancer and just spread awareness, as I said. So that's going to be the first one. As you all know, that October is Cancer Awareness Month, but cancer doesn't stop in October. It's just when it's visible to everybody, so it's important to do those type of things during that time. October the 14th, we've also partnered with Blossom and Butterfly, as well as the city of Alachua. So that's a co-city sponsored event. They have been generous enough to let us use Legacy Park for free, no charge. It's going to be hopefully annual event where we get all of the high schools in our surrounding area, not just Alachua County. We've invited some Columbia County schools, just different high schools, and trying to get the adults, the alumni, to come back and, for bragging rights. We know that sports is something that brings people together, and so we're going to do a alumni basketball tournament with the winner winning $500, and that's going to be sponsored by some business. So if you guys know any businesses looking to sponsor, we're looking for some sponsors. The winner will receive $500, and we're the proceeds will go to Blossom and Butterfly, and as well as my Blossom and Butterfly, they decided to give part of the proceeds to my son and his family. So if you're available, everybody out there in TV land, hopefully we're looking for some great competition and everybody to show up.
All right.
So they saying with the alumni in Alachua? So you bring old?
So we'll bring back alumni of Buchholz, GHS,
Okay.
Eastside, PK, Fort White. I've invited Columbia County, Union County, Hawthorne has agreed, Newberry has agreed, and so it's kind of like a bragging rights type thing, and it's a family fun event that people can come out. The admission will be $5 just to get in if you want to come and watch. So Legacy holds about 4,000 people, so we're looking to fill it up.
All right, sounds great. And next time, put a jacket on when you come in the meeting.
I gotta work, Mr. Commissioner.
There's still a Raider country, right?
We got to tell them, go Raiders. Go Raiders.
I'm always a Raider, but right now I'm just a Bobcat. I tell them that I'm a Raider for 23 games a season. So the other 2, I'm a Bobcat.
All right, thank you.
And what date is that again, sir?
So the two dates, October the 7th, that's going to be from, I think it's noon to, no, it's from 10 to 2.
Okay.
So those festivities will start at 10 o'clock. I don't have all of the particulars because Blossom and Butterfly is going to set up everything.
And that's the walk, right?
Yes, sir. And so we made it to where, unlike Frozen Foot, we didn't have to shut down any major highways. We just did it to where there'll be some type of walking trail there on Civic Center property.
Okay.
And then October the 14th is at Legacy Park.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Make sure to give information to Kevin for the website.
Thank you.
Just two things. The new fall banners that went up today look very colorful and are well-timed, along with the decorations that went on the poles, so they look really nice. If people haven't taken a look at that, those were paid for from CRA dollars and not general revenue. And then at the last meeting, we talked about the cleanup from the water main break. And I know our city staff are busy, and to me, if we just haven't had time to get to it, I think we should hire a company and charge the contractor responsible for it, because there's a lot of mess along there, including over the sidewalks. And again, if we were gonna re-pour the sidewalk and we don't have time to re-pour the sidewalk that's closed right now, then I say hire a contractor, so those city employees can be working for the city and, charge the contractor back.
As far as the sidewalk repair goes, it's DOT sidewalks, so we gotta go through a permitting process for it, and there's ADA requirements on that, so that's where that's hung up at. And I haven't had to talk to Thomas about where the cleanup was on that. He's back at the other break right now, they're wrapping up.
Okay. Thank you. And that is it.
That's it. Okay, well, I'm like Commissioner Rentz down there. I wanted to say how pretty the flower pots, as well as the hanging baskets, look around town. You're doing a very good job, and I do appreciate it. And as I tell you, every time we meet, thank you, thank you, thank you for all that you do. Because none of this that we do, could we possibly do without your help and your assistance. So I say thank you for all that you do. And with that, I'm gonna shut up.
Motion to adjourn.
And I am, oh.